Hey friends, let's get started with our painted paper day. I am going to start with colored construction paper. Your construction paper color may look different than mine. It's okay. Start with your name and art code on the back. Measure from the bottom about 4 fingers. This line doesn't need to be perfect or straight. It's simply a reference line. Now, your color palette may look different than mine. I'm going to start with yellow. And notice how I'm holding the brush. Just the tip of the brush gets the paint. I'm going to go right on top of that line, painting side to fill up the bottom portion of my sunflower painting. Adding a little bit of white to make a tint of this yellow. Long brush strokes, making sure I fill up the entire bottom of the page. Once that's complete and looking exactly how I want, I'm going to clean my brush, not with water like we normally do. Instead, I'm going to scrape it up towards the top to clean that brush, getting ready for my next color, which is blue. I'm going to start at the top, going side to side. I slow it down just a little bit, pull it all the way across, then flip the brush and pull it over. Adding white to create that tint for interest and value, like Vincent van Gogh was known to do. I'm going to complete this entire top portion the same way. If it's too blue, go in with white. If it gets too white, go in with blue. You are the artist. You get to choose how you want it to look. Perhaps you maybe want to do swirls like Vincent van Gogh. If you don't like it, paint over it. This is the time to explore the painting medium. I'm going to bring this blue all the way down to the yellow. Notice I slowed down just a little bit to fill in that space. I want to make sure all my edges and corners are filled up. I'm going to clean my brush and leave this to dry once it's looking exactly how I like. Catch you back when this is dry. Now that it's dry, we are going to work on our vase, our tabletop, a little bit of shadow, and a highlight if you're feeling fancy. Let's start with a black oil pastel, making sure we start the bottom of the pot on the yellow part. I'm going to make a curved line, bring it up, bring the other side down, and complete this shape. Your pot can look different than mine. It's okay. I am going to move on to the tabletop line. This line is important. It helps, first of all, fix up any mistakes that we have, but also brings into the idea that this flower pot is sitting on a table. Today, I am using metallic paint sticks. You can choose any other medium you want, but this is what I have. I suggest maybe 1 or 2 colors. Paint sticks act a lot like glue, and they look a lot like glue. But they don't glue like that. They add color. So you're going to pull off the cap, twist it up just a little bit, and start applying the color. Going slowly around the edges first. And it may be hard because the painting may have a little bit of texture. So I like to go over it with a little bit of swirls. See, I simply want to make sure that I can't see any of the yellow coming through my blue. This takes a little bit of time. Closing it up. I am going to move on to my second color. Go it up just a little bit. Go around the edges nice and slow. Create a little border so I don't accidentally go out of the lines. Then I'm going to fill up the entire flower pot the same way. If I find some blue showing through my color, I'm going to add some swirls or another layer till it looks full and complete. And once I'm done, I'm going to go back over my edges to bring back some of these lines. Push up your sleeves. Go slow. This is detail work. So I want to make sure this black line goes right against my paint sticks. I want to make this flower pot nice and bold. Once again, this is detail work, so I'm going to work a little slower. Go around all the edges of the flower pot, the sides, the bottom, and the top. I'm going to move on to what we call a cast shadow. Somewhere in the middle of the pot, I'm going to lightly add a little bit of black oil pastel. I'm going to take my finger and smudge it out. This cast shadow is on the table. It gives the illusion that it's actually sitting right on top of the table. I'll take my finger and smudge out this tabletop line and anywhere else where the lines look a little too harsh. Once again, it's detail work. If you are feeling fancy, you can add a little highlight. Not sure I can see it here, but I'm going to try anyway. For this next step, I am going to be using white chalk. If you don't have it, a white oil pastel or crayon will do just fine. I am going to do what's called laying in the shapes. I'm going to plan out where I want my sunflowers to be. The circles are going to be the center part. If I don't like it or misplace it, I get to simply rub it away instead of erasing. Moving on to the flower petals, I like the top, go to the middle, add a bottom, and add another middle. Then fill in my flower petals in between. Kind of helps keep me organized. Your flower petals can really be any shape. They could be large or small, and they all could be different. If you've ever observed or looked at a sunflower, you'll notice the difference in the petals. Some are pointy, some are skinny. And you can add that detail into your sunflowers too. Continue with the chalk until all the flowers have been laid in. Time to start painting our flower petals in, but before we do, I'm going to take a minute to fill in my flower petals with white oil pastel. This will help my yellow and orange feel a little bit more vibrant, meaning my yellow won't turn green because of the blue background. It'll help create a brighter yellow. This step is completely optional, but I think it's totally worth it. Okay, now we're ready for paint. If you noticed, I switched the size of my brush and style. We call this a round brush. This will help me get to the details of my flower petals. I am going to dip my paintbrush in a little bit of yellow. Notice I'm just going on the tips of the sunflower. I'm going to show you a few different ways to paint these in, and I hope you find a way that you like. Once I get the tips all painted in, I am going to add a little bit of orange on these flower petals. The orange is going to go closest to the circle with a little bit of yellow. Did you catch that? We call that the dip and flip method. Adding a little bit of both colors to my paintbrush will help highlight and show both these colors. I am going to continue using my orange and yellow on my sunflower petals until all of my sunflower petals have been painted in. For me, I like my sunflowers looking a little bit more yellow than orange, but maybe you like yours orange a little bit more than yellow. You get to choose. So once I get a layer of paint, I go back in and change it so I like it because I'm the artist and I get to choose how I want my work to look. I'm going to layer in the brown in the center of each one of these flowers, making sure it gets to my flower petals. Once the brown has been filled in, I'm going to start to layer the colors a little bit more, adding a little bit orange and yellow and even some gold for shimmering, just to add a depth into this brown value. My painting has had a chance to dry, so now it's time to work on the detail work. I'm pulling back out the oil pastels. I'm starting with light greens and dark greens for the leaves and stems. Notice I am going slowly, paying attention to detail. I started with my darker color, adding lighter on top to help these colors blend. I'm going to continue with the same process with the stems. Again, starting with the darker green and adding light on top. I do want to make sure it looks like the stems are coming out of the flower pot. I achieve that by making sure that the green hits right up to that black line of the flower pot. I am moving on to outlining my flower petals. This is where I can really define my work and make it stand out. I'm going to use a black oil pastel and slowly go on the edge of each flower petal. I'm speeding this up, and if you notice, I turned my paper upside down so I don't accidentally smudge my work. I'm going to continue around the circles of the flower petal and even smudge just a little bit. That just simply means taking my finger and rubbing some of that black. This softens up my black line and makes it look a little bit more like a painting quality. I will continue outlining my leaves and my stems. Once again, I'm going slow for this detail work. I really liked how the smudging looked, so I am going to smudge out my leaves as well. And my last bit of detail work, I'm going to use a white oil pastel to add just a little bit of highlight for contrast and to give the illusion that there is a light shining on these. I'm also going to add a little bit of a highlight onto the flower pots.